Hello and good day everyone. Thanks for joining MeteoMark's weather here. We have the tropics, which are continuing to taper off a little bit here as we get this area of low pressure moving off to the northeast. It didn't have too much of a chance with lots of dry air and plenty of wind shear, but we have our next system as we head into the new week here that could be causing some trouble here across parts of the Caribbean. And will we actually see any rainfall for Central America? Are we going to see our first tropical storm in the next week or two? I'll get into all those details as it looks like the Caribbean, there's going to be one big major tropical wave as we head through the first part of June. And taking a look at the Western Pacific, we'll take a closer look as we could have our first typhoon developing. Where could that be headed? And severe weather the next couple days into this week could become a major problem as we watch for the threat of damaging wind, large hail, and potential tornadoes. I have all the details for you on which areas are likely to see the worst weather. And a trough really starts to set up shop as we head through the last part of May into the beginning of June, as stormy times could be ahead. And don't forget, if you haven't watched my Hurricane 2024 Outlook, it's a link in the description down below and at the end of this video. And I am coming out with my Summer 2024 Outlook coming out shortly. Let's get into it. So for the tropical update here, I'll show you the GFS and switch quickly over to the European here. There's our area of low pressure. It's almost like this area of low pressure didn't have much of a chance, National Hurricane Center outlining it in that 10% chance, but it's been bouncing off and on here. High pressure retreating off to the northeast. You can see we have another area of disturbed weather here. So does this low pressure system do anything out here in the Atlantic? Well, it just kind of weakens and heads to the northeast. If it does develop, it's going to take this exit path here between this high pressure and this low pressure up here. So it's got a good exit strategy. Our next potential wave here, entering the Caribbean as we head through the 27th into the 28th. Look at some very heavy rain here through Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. Is this going to continue westward or is this going to bend northward here? Well, let's just take a look here as we continue in time. You can see what's going on here. This is looking like a pretty active pattern here across the Caribbean. So that just continues to stall. And as we see towards the 29th and the 30th, this does start to take root in more of a sizable wave at this point. Jamaica getting some really heavy rain here towards the end of the month, into Cuba and Haiti as well. Cayman Islands still looking dry. I know Central America's been looking really dry here. Hopefully this wave can actually provide some sort of relief here. It does try to close off a low just east of Nicaragua here on the 31st. But look at it, it doesn't move much here over these couple days. Jamaica really getting, look at this. Yeah, so if we just pan out here, you can kind of see what's happening here. Essentially, there is an area of low pressure up here, essentially a stalled out front, and it's the tail end of these fronts that you really have to watch this time of year. So what's happening with this is it's kind of pushing off to the north. Could this actually develop into something? We'll see if this is showing up on the European model momentarily. But the island of Hispaniola seems to be in the crosshairs lately, and then it heads off to the northeast, basically leaving Central America high and dry here, with the exception for Panama down here. So that is some bad news for Central America. I know it's hot, extremely humid, and not a lot of rainfall. But look at this. This could, maybe, it's pretty far out, but it's quite plausible. We could be looking at some sort of tropical system as it moves in this general direction. Look at this little feature here as well as we head towards say June 5th here. And as we just go out in time, you can see the pattern here. Intertropical convergence zone still pretty far to the south for this time of year, but it does start to bend towards the north. But as we head through June 10th, it looks kind of quiet here. So for our European run here for the tropics, there's our area of low pressure heading out Sunday and Monday. National Hurricane Center taking that off the radar. But here's our next system moving through the Lesser Antilles, our next wave here, Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up to Guadeloupe here, Dominica, Martinique, Barbados here. Yeah, this is going to continue to become a thing here as we head this week. Now, let's just take a look here. It is kind of following the similar trajectory as the GFS. You can see by the 28th and the 29th, it is in the Central Caribbean, just south of Jamaica. It is following a little bit further south track. But as we continue to go out here in time, the European kind of pushes this further into southern Central America. It does keep an area of showers and thunder showers all across this region, though. There's another piece of energy up here on the European model we'll have to keep, close tabs on here. However, as we go in time, you can see pretty much the system becomes stationary. So Nicaragua and southward here to Costa Rica. Look at that. Northern South America just continuing to get pummeled with moisture here. So both models, both our major forecast models, are indicating that something is going to have to be watched here. There are differences in the evolution of this system. Let's just push this here into the first week of June. Look at this. So there is that frontal boundary that was showing up on the GFS. It's way up here into the North Atlantic, and there's the tail end of that front. So it kind of gets some energy here from the tail end of this front, and then it just continues slowly chugging westward. Heavier rain and wind here are definitely Jamaica. Yeah, you definitely need the rain. If this scenario plays out, you could be getting a lot of rain here. And look at here, even the European model is more optimistic with the rainfall here into Central America. And look at the Bahamas up to Cuba, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Puerto Rico. These areas continuing to get pummeled with rainfall here. We'll have to see if anything tropical depression, tropical storm-wise comes out of this. So looking at the latest visible satellite picture, you can see what's going on here. Our system out here, it is being eaten away by dry air and wind shear here on the southwest and south side. You can see that little center of circulation. Most of the heaviest convection is way up to the northeast. It's not even causing any major problems for Bermuda. We can follow that big tropical plume down here across parts of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and parts of the Virgin Islands here. Turks and Caicos looking pretty clear at this point, but there is that big ball of tropical moisture that continues to try to funnel northward here. So thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for this ocean sea surface content. Look at this. Every time we look at this map, it just gets warmer. Way up here beyond 2.8, 3.6, some areas close to 5 degrees Celsius above average. As I said before, this is more indicative of, say, late August into mid-September's sea surface temperatures. And here's a good product I like to take a look at here. There's our area of low pressure. This is why it has been struggling so much. Look at all this mid and higher layer dry air here across the Western Caribbean and feeding into this area of low pressure. You can see it just kind of closing off on the backside here. So that essentially has kept this system from really developing into anything, tropical. You see this surge continuing to go out here in time, June 1st. Look at, there's our area of low pressure developing as we head through the first week of June. So we got a big area of surge here. Now, this is what I want you to look at, Central America. I know many of you put in the comment section down below, it has been so dry and hot. It looks like, unfortunately, at least according to this model, it's going to continue to remain dry and hot. And look at even some mid-layer dry air. We come towards June 9th here across parts of the Caribbean. So if we take a look at the European run here, you can see the similar thing. There's actually more dry air feeding into this, our Central Atlantic system here. It just didn't have much of a chance with all that dry air literally choking it. Now, I see the European models we go in time. Yeah, it's still pretty dry here across Central America, but watch this. This is the last frame we can get here, but there is a surge of tropical moisture that might try to make a run here for parts of Central America. But look at this. The North Central Caribbean islands, Hispaniola, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, continuing here to get pummeled as we go through towards the end of the month here. All right, so let's take a look week by week here as we continue through the rest of this week. Precipitation anomalies are going to continue to run high here across parts of Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Central Caribbean. That as we head towards, say, days 8 through 14 here. This is getting towards June 1st through June 8th. You can see this showing up pretty readily here towards the Bahamas, Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Nicaragua there. So look at that. And then look at this. Curiously, towards the 15th of June, dries out a little bit, but towards Florida, it starts to become your turn here. So there's some changes here as we continue to go out here in time. Another big surge as the intertropical convergence zone here pushes further to the north. Look at the western and central and northern part of the Gulf Coast regions here. Watch out, because things will really start to fill in here as we get towards the last part of June and July. And then look at that. All bets are off as we continue to surge this moisture westward. So here we go with additional model information we have here for June. Yeah, this is looking like a massive surge here for June. So June, we're still going to have to keep an eye on here. Here's July. Still looking very, very solid here for tropical moisture, well above average. Central America finally getting in on the act here as we head throughout the rest of the season. You can see those precip anomalies actually creep up here into parts of the east here as well. So we could be looking at, a flip-floppy kind of summer here along the east coast. So stay tuned. I'm trying to work on my summer outlook here that I hope to have out, shortly. But look at this. The tropics, September, it's just crazy here across the Caribbean into the main development region. Of course, October, we retreat. We dry it out, thankfully, here across much of the central Gulf Coast. But look at this. Continuing with tremendous tropical moisture here, especially across the Caribbean. So precipitation here, liquid equivalent as we head through the weekend. You can see that tropical wave as it starts to get into the Caribbean here. That surge of tropical moisture, thankfully, is going to engulf Jamaica through the end of this coming week into the following week here. Look at that, through Tuesday, June 4th. We could be looking at rainfall in Jamaica upwards of 80 to 125 millimeters. That's getting upwards of 2.5 to as much as 4.5 inches of rain. And look at that. The same can be said here for Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Eastern Cuba, the Turks and Caicos of the Bahamas here, looking at a surge. But there it is, the north-central part of the Central America. Very, very abnormally dry this time of year. You have to go way down into Nicaragua and Costa Rica here to get into that 100 millimeter plus. And as we head into the Eastern and Central Caribbean here, as we head through Tuesday, you can see that wave just piling up, and that tropical wave is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So these areas just continuing to pick up significant rainfall. Those red areas, 60 to 100 millimeters. That's anywhere from about 1.5 inches all the way up to 3.5 inches. And then you get into those yellow areas, 100 to as much as 125 millimeters. You're talking about 3.5, close to 5 inches in some cases. So as we continue through the rest of Saturday evening into Saturday night, the severe weather, there's going to be a few scattered reports here into parts of the Northeast and Eastern Great Lakes region, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia. But the big show is going to take over here into the Central and Southern Plains, Wichita, Tulsa, and all the way down into the rest of the plains here. We're going to be talking about a tornado threat, damaging wind, large hail, that rare moderate there into, say, the red zones. And then as we stretch through Sunday here, that rough weather heading east here, you can see enhanced risk here into the orange, slight risk into the yellow. This is going to be a very busy day from St. Louis, Louisville, Cincinnati. Watch out, damaging wind, large hail, and a potential tornado threat. That threat making it all the way far east here into portions of central Ohio. And then Memorial Day itself, we're looking at anywhere from the Gulf Coast all the way up the East Coast here. Slight risk as we head into parts of the Mid-Atlantic here. You can see North Carolina all the way up to southeastern Pennsylvania. And even the dark green zones here, a marginal risk. So a very stormy Memorial Day, unfortunately, for much of the Mid-Atlantic into parts of the Northeast. All right, so if we take a look at the HRRR future radar, as we head throughout the rest of the evening here into parts of the Northeast and eventually New England, that system is thankfully going to die down a little bit as we head through 11 p.m. But look what is solidifying out here in the plains. We're going to have explosive development around 7, 8, 9 o'clock here. Look at this. Here into the Northeast, thankfully this line will be weakening. It will bring you a little bit of rain here for parts of New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, maybe a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. But look at this action out here into the Central Plains. This is going to be a nocturnal threat, damaging wind, large hail, tornado threat running pretty elevated here. And then as we head through the rest of the morning into Sunday morning, 10 a.m., this line continuing to stretch eastward here. This is going to be like one of those mesoscale convective complexes. Watch out for damaging wind, large hail. We do see a resurgence of showers and thunderstorms here, also here in the mid-Atlantic as well. So watch out. Things are going to be going downhill for your Sunday here across parts of Ohio, and eventually towards 9 p.m. here on Sunday. Look at the Mississippi and Ohio River Valley here to the west here. Sunday night into early Monday. This is going to be really bad for you, even into parts of the south here. Look at this. So a little bit of overrunning showers and thunderstorms up here in the northeast. The big severe is going to be down here from the Ohio Valley on southeastward. You see towards 6 a.m. Memorial Day itself, that line stretching down towards Atlanta towards 8 a.m. Some more showers and thunderstorms up here into parts of the northeast and Lake Erie region as we get that low pressure winding up. So there it is towards 10 a.m. on Monday, Memorial Day itself. So yeah, pretty stormy here across the east. All right, so as we continue in time here, GFS, and I'll show you the European model. That storminess here on Sunday, that's going to be heading towards the Ohio Valley. You can see those showers and thunderstorms, and then for just in time for Memorial Day itself. Look at that. That area of low pressure moving up through parts of Michigan here. Showers and thunderstorms continuing here as we head into Memorial Day. It's just really unfortunate that pushing off to the northeast. You can see that area of low pressure pretty much occluding here across Ontario and Quebec. I'll have my Canadian forecast a little bit later in the segment, just momentarily. But there it is, Monday into Tuesday. As we head into the 28th, 29th, it kind of becomes an upper level low. We are watching another area of potential severe development here, just near the Gulf Coast. This low pressure, you can see towards the 29th into the 30th, it finally starts to move out. So high pressure does have a chance to build into control here on the 31st and into the 1st. So as we head into next weekend, it might not be all that bad here across the East Coast. So this is something we might be able to actually look forward to here, which would be a welcome sight. Towards the 2nd into the 3rd, we do start to see, that pattern start to break down a little bit here with that low up here into Canada. Another shot of showers and thunderstorms here across the Gulf Coast region. As we just continue in time, you can start to see severe weather outbreaks here the first week of June, right around the 3rd and the 4th. And these thunderstorm complexes continuing along the Gulf Coast. And then another big front right around June 8th. So the European run here for North America, let's take a look. Yeah, so as we continue through the rest of the weekend, it's looking active here. There it is for your Memorial Day weekend. Unfortunate that rainfall will be pushing here to the east. Ohio Valley might eke out an okay day, Memorial Day, because your bad day... Actually, look at this. The European model's slowing this down a little bit. So here it is on Sunday at 5 p.m., 8 p.m. So most of your day might be okay through much of Ohio here. It's overnight Sunday into early Monday. Then we really start to push this towards the northeast on Monday evening. Look at that, getting into New England Tuesday morning. And then an upper level low just takes over here across eastern parts of Canada. So we finally get pushed that front off the coastline here. And as we continue to go in time, Texas and southern plains are going to continue. And then coastal lows here, some weak coastal lows off the east coast here are just going to continue. But as we head throughout the week, the good news is high pressure is going to be kind of sandwiched right in between these two systems. You see a severe weather outbreak here as we head towards June 1st. But look at this, just off of Maine, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, looking at a system that is blocked to the northeast by a strong area of high pressure. So this system, the only place it can really go is drift eastward or even retrograde south or southwestward here. So we'll have to keep an eye on this system here. It does retrograde back into Maine towards the 2nd. So the European model is more pessimistic with next weekend. The first weekend of June. So yeah, look at this, developing another area of low pressure. Hopefully the GFS comes true, but I don't know. The European model has better track record here. So This is an active pattern we're going to have to keep a very close watch on. And if we take a look at liquid equivalent precipitation totals here over the weekend, you can see all the rainfall is going to be back east here, especially the Ohio Valley into the northeast, the Great Lakes, even into southern Ontario here, Texas as well. So heavy rains, purple areas 1 to 2 inches and 3 to 4 here, 2.5 to close to 4 here into the red areas, and 4+ here as we get into these yellow and orangish zones. And as we continue to go through time, that pattern is just going to continue throughout the following week into early June here. You can see we're getting into a very dangerous flooding type pattern here across parts of Texas and Louisiana. And then here across the Midwest into the Northeast, heavy rain continuing as well with 2 to 4 inches with locally higher to 4 to 6 possible. Liquid equivalent precipitation here on the European model, you can see, wow, look at this. This is a lot of precipitation, heavy rain over, say, the weekend into early next week. Yeah, we're looking at about 1 to as much as 2.5 inches here on average here from the Mississippi and Ohio River Valley into the Northeast here. Southeast Canada getting a lot as well. And then as we cruise through the rest of next week into the following week, the first part of June, look at this. So everything from the plains on eastward here, we're looking at a lot of rainfall here on the order of 2 to 4+ inches. So our upper air pattern, as we continue to progress through the weekend here, you can see that ridging back east here. That's going to be quickly replaced by a troughiness. So we're looking at a very active week setting up here. As we head mid to late week, you can see several areas of storminess and a lot of low pressure systems just off the coastline here. So let's continue with our climate model. And as we just continue to go out here in time, there it is. We're going to start off in June. It's looking like an active start here in June, but you see ridging building across much of Canada. Look at this. Yeah, the east here, June is looking much cooler and stormier here as we continue in time. This is through June 25th here. This is quite strange for June, but you know what? It's not unheard of. All right, so the Canadian weather outlook here, it is really active in Canada. We have that continuing Rocky Mountain snow out here. But as we continue through the weekend into next week, there is that big old area of low pressure across Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and eventually Newfoundland here. Out in the west coast active as well, but look at high pressures in control of the Canadian plains here until about the 31st into the 1st. We have high pressure building into Quebec. That's going to be short-lived, however. As we get towards the first part of June here into the 2nd, you can see potential severe weather outbreak here in the parts of Manitoba, Saskatchewan area. This low pressure, just a big old trough. So scattered showers and whatnot here across eastern Canada. And as we continue, we do continue to see things very active here into British Columbia. Both coastlines here looking really active as we head through the first part of June here with those troughs of low pressure. Until about the 6th or the 7th, look at the good news here in eastern Canada. You start to see this high pressure from the United States building in. This big old low up here north towards Hudson Bay, that really winding up 972 millibar low, filling in with rain and snow mix way up there into the north. But look at that, the rain and snow line is way up here just south of the Arctic. So yeah, rain is ahead. So for Canada here, your liquid equivalent precipitation, you are looking in excess of, wow, Southeast Canada is going to be the bullseye here. You can see through Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here, we're looking at a solid anywhere from 75 to as much as 125 millimeters of rainfall here. We're talking about a solid 2.5 to as much as 5 inches. Even out here on the west coast, we're looking pretty active. And if we take a look at snowfall here, yeah, it's basically the Rocky Mountains of Canada. That's all that's left, and way up here in northern Canada. All right, so if we take a look at the western Pacific, we actually have a storm forming, potentially on its way to becoming a typhoon. It's literally over the northern Philippines here. So you're starting, you've been getting some storminess here, and it will continue to develop here, bringing it up towards a minimal typhoon here as we get towards the 27th. So Monday into Tuesday here, this thing's strengthening before it heads out over cooler waters. This time of year, the waters are cooler here towards Japan, but this could become a weather maker. You can see it forming an eye here right around the 27th here. Look at this. It's being drawn up. This looks pretty strong still by the 28th. It's being drawn up by this frontal boundary here that's just off the coastline of Asia. Got to watch this intertropical convergence zone out here for more potential storminess, but let's just play this into motion here. Yeah, this is going to slide just off to the east of Japan here. Look at this, paralleling the coastline. The good news is Japan is going to escape pretty much the full effects of this, it looks like, towards the 29th and the 30th. This heading way out to sea. You can thank the monsoon and heavy synoptic systems this time of year coming off the coastline of Asia. So this really helps you early on in the typhoon season, but later on, look at that. We could have another development in this region here as we get towards the first part of June, another area towards the Philippines. So things really starting to get very active here into the Western Pacific. Look at this, another couple areas towards June 6 here. So this is something we'll have to keep a very close watch on. And look at this, the model's blowing this one up here just south of Taiwan towards South China, towards the South China Sea here. Could this become a major typhoon? We'll have to keep an eye on it. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? Check this out.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
And temperatures for the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. Look at these 90s here across the east, even some upper 80s, mid 80s here across the Ohio Valley, into parts of the Northeast lakes and Northeast, east of the Great Lakes here into the lower to mid 70s, even some 60s back here towards parts of Wisconsin. But look at here, Memorial Day, the heat really solidifies southward here. Lots of 70s up here to the north with active weather pattern. And into Tuesday, you start to see that cooler pool of air heading eastward here. That's the cool down, the much big advertised cool down 60s here for much of the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. That is crazy to even think about, but there it is. It is here. And then Thursday, 60s here for the Northeast with a warm up behind it into the 70s. And as we get to Friday, your TGIF, eroding those 60s and lots of 70s and 80s, even, eroding those 90s here into the south for some upper 80s. Extended forecast for my hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. We're going to be looking at those showers and thunderstorms wearing off, giving beautiful Sunday your only really, really good day for the weekend, Memorial Day weekend. 83 degrees up towards the mid 80s, 85 in some locations. Watch out as we head into Memorial Day, though, because conditions will be going downhill. Showers and thunderstorms likely. Some storms may contain damaging wind, large hail, but mostly an all-day rain event. Mid-70s into Tuesday, scattered showers and thunderstorms. Wednesday, more rain likely. And you see that by Thursday, temperatures cooling into the mid to upper 60s. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.